Hello, welcome to the start of the fall semester. Our class together will be 575 Research in Health Sciences. This is the online section, so some things may be a little bit different. This is just an intro. The syllabus will be posted by Monday morning. Goal is Sunday night. And so one thing that'll be different for online classes is assignments. I try to do this with on campus too now, just so it could be easier for me. Sometimes students will opt for online if they're on campus, or they may have signed up for online but they live close within the region, so they may want to come to class. So I try to keep things as similar as possible so that they're as flexible as possible for kind of some of those unique opportunities. So anyway, so I try to keep assignments due with a week's time in between, just because I know life happens, sometimes 2 weeks depending upon kind of the intensity of the assignment. So bear that in mind as we go through, and again, I'll get some specifics of the syllabus and things posted over the weekend. But so from an introduction, so overview of the course. So and you may see it, and COVID kind of really heightened the necessity of a course like this. At least I hope you kind of understand some of the things that happened during COVID from a public health and a public health science perspective. And so one of the things is, that you likely have heard the term follow the science. And so that's kind of what we're getting at is, okay, follow the science. What does that mean? Two, what is science and what is the truth? And so this is where public health, I sometimes refer to it as political health, as COVID illustrated. It became evident after I don't know how many months that there started to be a shift based on political alignment and affiliation. And that's not what science is, that's not what truth is. And so, as a scientist, all I have is my integrity. And I'll use Dr. Fauci, just because he was the scientist that was front and center, at least for the United States, and represented the National Institutes of Health, which is one of the premier research entities in the U.S. and maybe the world. I'm not familiar with other federal research institutes globally, but at least in the U.S., that's the case. So, and there were some political issues that ended up happening, and so part of it was internal, and so kind of the omission of and selective word choice. And so anyway, integrity is kind of the only thing that scientists have that's a value. And so for example, if you realize if scientists are making a claim and then it's found out that they lied with their data, or we'll get to some of this in which that's happened, and then all of a sudden once they've done that once or once they've done that, then all of a sudden thereafter it's like, can we trust them again? So anyway, so the truth is what we're seeking, and in most cases, at least in health sciences, we'll leave it at that, it takes time to determine the truth. And so what we'll go through with this class, again, 1 credit hour class, so bear that in mind. So this won't be as intensive as some of your 3 credit hour classes. I think there was some confusion in prior semesters. It's like there's not as much information here as what I want. So it was 3 credit hours, then we reduced it to 1 to fit within curricular issues from KBOR, Kansas Board of Regents. Anyway, but it usually takes, in health sciences, it usually takes time to get to truth. And even then, there are sometimes exceptions. And so I work in sports medicine, sports nutrition, and there's supplements, ergogenic aids, those types of things in which get discussed. And we're pretty confident that caffeine works at improving performance and creatine works at improving performance. Does that mean it works in every case? No. Does that mean any dose works? No. And so there's still context, even with those knowns. I was actually listening to the Huberman Lab podcast show, whatever, this week, and he was talking about creatine and brain function, brain health, and there's still going to be situations in which it might not work as well as what some person may purport, based upon dose, based upon type. So creatine monohydrate, for example. So anyway, so there's still context, even when somebody may say, well, caffeine works. There's still context with that. The dose, too little, too much? Are they caffeine naive? That is, are they habitual users of caffeine or not? And what's the purpose? Because sometimes caffeine you may take too much, and then you can't do fine motor skills. So anyway, takes the sports nutrition class. You'll learn more about that. So that's the issue for kind of what is the truth, because that's what when you'll probably have a parent, friend, whatever, say, hey, what, you're in nutrition, or you're in health sciences, or you're a PA, or you're a pharmacist. Some of you will likely be in some of those fields. I say, what do you think about this? And then that, either as a friend, family member, or as a professional, you have to know how to get to the truth of it. That's what this class is for, is to help search, create questions, create topics, and then use professional searches to get the best answer today. More data will come out, and so that's why the truth, it moves slowly. And so when people say, oh, there's a study that showed artificial sweeteners cause cavities. Well, okay, well, that's one study. What do the other 40 say? And so does the one supersede and overwhelm the data from the other 40? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on methods, population, those kinds of things. We'll get into that. So those two things, what is the truth and what is science? That's what we're talking about. And we'll really get into pseudoscience and cherry picking, because that, from a lay person's perspective, that and a political perspective, that's what's done. And we'll talk about a video, a documentary. So documentaries are wrought with cherry picking. They're showing, in almost all cases, one side of an issue. And so even if it's non-fiction, most documentaries are one-sided. They won't show things that are contrary. that kind of, because they're supposed to be educational and about an issue. And so most of the documentaries, so for health, you'll see documentaries on veganism, documentaries on ketogenic, and it's like, they come to the same conclusion. How is that possible? So it just depends on who they talk to, and there's also anecdotal evidence, and we'll get into that. So anyway, so that's the basis of the course. A little bit about me and my fit for this class. My perspective, I am a human scientist. That is, I do work with humans, gather data from humans. So I have some experience with animal studies, very limited experience with cell culture studies in vitro. So that's kind of where I come from as far as how I view data. And those are important things to know. And so as a clinical trial scientist, I know more about that area of science, that is the methodologies, the issues that went in to determine those data and those results and interpreting those results relative to the methods that were used versus animal studies, cell culture studies, epidemiological studies. And we'll get into all those in this class. And so that's my lens that I'm looking at science through. PhD, undergrad degree psychology, master's and PhD in exercise science, postdoc in geriatric medicine, specifically sarcopenia was kind of which is age-related loss of muscle mass, or age-associated, however you want to phrase that. I've taught obesity, and so I used to teach an energy balance class here at K-State, and so that's where you may, if you search the interwebs, you may come across my affiliation with Twinkies. That was Good Morning America's fault. I did not label what I did as the Twinkie diet, but so part of being a scientist is being skeptical and viewing data with skepticism. Is it true? Is it not true? Where's the truth? And so it's also based upon the methods and things that are used, and we'll talk about that. But at the time, so why is this relevant to this class? At the time, so dietary guidelines, they have come out typically every 5 years for the past 20 or 30 years. And I was fortunate working in this department, in this field. We sometimes get access to drafts before they make it to the broader public. And so I was fortunate to be able to, in 2010, to see one of those drafts. And so within the draft, and this gets at this truth issue, the draft stated that sugars and solid fats are obesogenic. Obesogenic means causing or leading to obesity. And so based upon that statement, if you eat those foods that have sugar, have saturated fat, you will become obese. Over time. It may not be quickly, it may take time to do that, but that's the concept as I defined it. And so it's like, so based upon that statement, sugars and solid fats are obesogenic, I interpreted that as, if you eat foods containing those ingredients, you can't lose weight because they're obesogenic. So that was the basis of quote unquote the Twinkie diet, was addressed, because in using that in class, here's a public health issue, here's a statement from scientists. Dietary guidelines are the committee is a group of scientists. One of my mentors, my postdoc mentor, was on the 2015 committee, or the committee that determined the 2015 guidelines. So it's basically a PhD at least, typically, I think, and then maybe an RD, maybe an MD, or different other additional letters after their name to get the clinical application piece or the public health application piece, so MPH. But that was the reason for that is, and my project for class showed that my diet of eating sugar and saturated fat was able to elicit weight loss. And so that's kind of, as a scientist, that's my job, is to test things. This says that if I do this, this will be the outcome. How much truth is there? And by truth, it's more probability, and we'll get to that when we get to the statistics of it, because that's really what science is. You have all these data points, and you're trying to predict an outcome. And so and by saying that saturated fats and sugar are obesogenic, you're leaving no room for an alternative outcome. And so you're saying eating these will lead to this, instead of saying typically sugar and saturated fat leads to obesity. There's no typically. It's you do this, you eat these, and now fast forward almost 15 years, and now they're saying ultra processed foods, food processing, and so it's like this is the next. So it's like, oh, this is coming up again, and so it's still kind of relatively pertinent. So you get again political health. There's some political issues at play where there are some people who see things that should be done. People can't control themselves, and so therefore we need to control the food supply for them so that they don't harm themselves. We're trying to protect the public. And I understand that mentality. However, sometimes following the science, it's cherry-picked, or you're omitting things and to create this narrative. So the effort is more on control than kind of education. My issue is, hey, let's find ways for people to just live better versus us creating environments that restrict things that they shouldn't do. So anyway, more on that. I could talk a lot on that. You probably already say you already have talked a lot about that. So that's me. Office hours questions, email is here, haub@ksu.edu. Use that. You can also access this through Canvas and the Canvas notification system. I am getting better at that. There was a point where I tried to not use that because it shows up weird sometimes in emails and things, so it's not always easy for me to locate. But I think on the email side, things are getting easier to separate out and to see when students are emailing about a class versus getting something from outside. And so anyway, so that's becoming easier. However, I think the quickest way to get a hold of me is text, but include your name, the class, and the section, please. So for this class, it would be 575 fall semester. Fall. You can do that however you want. Say fall, F24, whatever. And your last name, first initial, last name typically works best. And that way, if we follow up with conversations, I will be able to use that information to say, oh, he or she is reconnecting based upon this question. And those things kind of show up. And I see that more often than I see emails. Things get buried, and I may not get to your question quickly enough. Also, I know you may not be, you may not be on campus or in the area, but if you are, I'm also in Justin Hall on the lobby floor in the West Wing, 146A. That's where I am currently. That may change, but just wanted to introduce myself. And if you ever have questions, ask. I'm human, make mistakes. Part of that. So I do have some forgetfulness. I blame that on the neurosurgeon who did my craniotomy and took out a piece of my brain. And so, anyway, it's not, well, theoretically it's his fault, but it had to be done. Brain tumor patient, brain cancer. So I still have cancer. That's one of the things with brain tumors. You can't really get rid of it all currently with current technology. So the issue is keeping it at bay. Anyway, so that kind of affects things. So part of that, and did it anyway. So I'm not blaming the tumor, but and you may have had experiences with other faculty. Sometimes I forget to hit the publish button thing in Canvas, and so there'll be assignment that's going to be due, and I'm thinking I published it. I may have put the dates in or something, but I didn't really publish it on the other side of Canvas to make sure you can see it. And so if that happens, if hey, we talked about this in class, and he said it in the 2 videos that something was going to come out today, I'm not seeing it, just email, text, communicate. Hey, you mentioned twice that we're going to have an assignment due. I've got family plans this weekend, so I need to do it today. Where is it? I said, then I'm going to say, sorry, I forgot to publish it, and publish it. It's not intentional. If that does happen, you will still get 7 days to turn things in, so I'll just shift the due date. So it's not going to be, so if I forget for 2 days and somebody doesn't notify me for 2 days, I'm not going to keep the due date the same, because my philosophy is to give everybody a weekend to work on something, just because I know life happens, and some people, that's the time that they work on things because life is so busy for all of us. So I get it. So just let me know if we're talking about something and you can't see something. You say, hey, you showed some material in class today. We can't see it on our end. Okay, cool. This is not intentional. I'm not trying to hide things. It's just sometimes what I see on my end, I can see it on my end. I just sometimes don't pay attention to the green dot that shows that it's published or not. Or sometimes the file may be published, but I didn't publish the module, so you can't see the module. If you can't see the module, you can't see, even if I publish the material, if the module's not published, you still can't see it. And so there may be things, I published it. Well, yeah, but the module's not visible. Those types of things. Just communicate those. And I have no problem. It's not going to be, hey, why are they bothering me? That's not my mentality. It's, thank you for doing that. Because my goal is to make this as easy for you to get through as possible. So, anyway, have a great rest of your weekend, and you will see me. Hopefully, we'll see each other at some point. On that note, I will have some Zoom office hours for the online classes, and so I will work on those. You'll see an announcement. I'll ask for kind of days. I may put up a series of 4 days and windows of time and just kind of take a poll to see what's the best option, and I will probably choose the top 2. And there's always, you may always set up something separate. So it's like, hey, those won't work. I work. My kids have practice. Whatever. We can do things separate as a separate individual office hour. So don't feel bad. I'm not going to be able to get in. No, I want to communicate. Just sometimes there's ways to put something in the schedule to make it consistent. I can't. There's 75-ish of you, so I can't do 75 separate things in a week. So, but we'll at least do a few so that there'll at least be an open time, and it'll be open. Camera, Zoom, whatever will be on, open, and you just got to come check in if you have a question. And you could just, hey, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, could just be a quick question. Pop in, pop out, that's fine. Whatever makes it easier for you. So, thank you, and we will see you, or you will see me soon. I hope to see you soon as well. Thanks. Have a great weekend.